Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and tap the notification bell to stay updated with more gripping true crime stories. And after hearing this heartbreaking case, let us know in the comments. What would you have done if you found her letter? Hollow Pines, Virginia. A sleepy town with more secrets than residents. Nestled between two rolling hills and a silent lake, it was the kind of place people passed through, not visited. And for Eleanor Grace, it was the place she had reluctantly called home for over 2 decades. To the outside world, Eleanor was just another stay-at-home mom. Polite, private, and rarely seen without her 2 children, Lily and James. Her husband, Daniel Grace, was a former deputy, now a mechanic. Their house sat at the edge of a wooded area, where birdsong in the morning was the loudest thing you'd hear. But what no one knew was what Eleanor had been hiding. It began with a letter, found not in a mailbox, but folded carefully between the pages of a tattered Bible at the local thrift store. A volunteer named Sarah pulled it out by accident, looking for bookmarks to sell. The handwriting was shaky but deliberate. The words written in blue ink sent chills down her spine. If you're reading this, I may already be dead. My name is Eleanor Grace. And if anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. It was my husband. Shocked and trembling, Sarah rushed the letter to the police. At first, the Hollow Pines sheriff thought it was a hoax. Eleanor Grace had died only a week prior, an apparent suicide. Pills. Wine. A note blaming herself for being a burden. But now, the story was beginning to unravel. Detectives reopened the case quietly. They interviewed neighbors who described Eleanor as sweet but sad and Daniel as stern, with a reputation for temper. One neighbor, an elderly woman named Martha, recounted hearing loud arguments and seeing Eleanor with bruises. From falling, she was always told. Eleanor's autopsy was re-examined. And that's when it got strange. There were high levels of sleeping medication in her system, far more than what would have come from a standard overdose. And yet, no pill bottles were found at the scene. In fact, they were later discovered inside the family's outdoor grill. Melted. Destroyed. Lily, now 14, and James, 11, were taken into protective custody. At first, they were too scared to talk. But days later, Lily broke down during therapy. Daddy said Mommy was sick and she needed to go away, she whispered. But she wasn't sick. He made her take those pills. James added something chilling. I saw him put something in her drink. Then he made me promise not to tell. Said I'd go away too. The case exploded. Daniel Grace was arrested 2 days later, while working under a car. The town of Hollow Pines, once peaceful and sleepy, was now on every national news outlet. Detectives pieced together Eleanor's final weeks through journal entries, phone records, and that haunting letter. She'd known her husband was dangerous for years. But with no family to turn to, and fear for her kids' safety, she stayed. She wrote the letter on a quiet Thursday, after a violent outburst when Daniel nearly strangled her in front of the children. But she never mailed it. Instead, she tucked it into the one place he would never look, her Bible. She donated that Bible the next day, maybe hoping someone would find it if she didn't survive. Eleanor had tried to leave once before, but Daniel had friends in law enforcement. He tracked her down, brought her home, and told her the next time she tried, it would be the last. The letter was her backup plan, her final plea. The trial was swift, the jury unanimous. Daniel Grace was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of his wife, with additional charges of child endangerment and obstruction of justice. But no sentence could erase the trauma left behind. Lily and James now live with a foster family. They've changed their last name. They go to therapy weekly. And sometimes, Lily writes letters to her mother. Letters she knows she'll never send, but keeps them in her Bible, just like Eleanor did. Eleanor Grace's voice was almost silenced, but her courage, her final words, and her love for her children spoke louder than fear ever could. May her story remind us to listen when someone whispers for help. Because sometimes a plea, unheard, can be the difference between life and death. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional, true crime stories. Leave a comment below. What would you have done if you had found Eleanor's letter?